Yeah. Hello, Ariel. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Hi,
Welcome.
Jade, ladies. Nice to meet you.
So a note to the listeners, Cass's voice is almost gone, so you won't hear a lot from her, but when you do, it'll sound real interesting.
She's actually going to be typing to us in the chat. And
Yeah.
so we might be by proxy, saying her comments or asking her questions.
So to introduce Ariel really quickly, she is a Pisces sun, Virgo moon, Capricorn rising. So the girl can work hard, and she's also very tapped in to spirit. And I know that because I worked with her personally, and she has an RTT therapy practice, and she's a very gifted, intuitive healer who has helped me so much. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we do that, I would like to say that obviously you have actually listened to several of our episodes because you knew about our card polls that we do at the beginning, and you
hip hop queens,
hip hop queen card polls. She was like,
to be here for the card poll. I want to get in.
Yeah. So Kaylin, lay it on us.
Okay, so Ariel, for you, I pulled Cash Doll, Finesse.
Ooh.
Yeah. So her words are sophistication, elegance, class, and grace. That's why I was like, oh shit, yeah.
Ariel has all of that. So
And I will send you the whole sheet because I know you're interested. You asked for this, but just a quick little something. It says you're finding it harder to conceal your feelings, even despite your best efforts. It's time to put on your game face and take the high road. Let the Cash Doll card be your guide. So even when adversity is staring you down, you never ever blink an eye. Sure, staying cool, calm, and collected can be hard, but haters love to spot weakness. Don't give them that satisfaction. When they go low, you go high. Cass says, whoa.
Always such a good reminder, right? That's what you feel like when you're like, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's fun. Exciting. Do you guys want me to share what I pulled for us?
Might as well.
Yeah, you have to.
All right. Jade, you got Sweetie Style.
I feel like I've had her before.
You have.
I've had her before.
Cass, you got Passion. And I got Luck. Which, to be honest, I am not feeling lucky or lady luck in any kind of way, but sure. The cards tend to speak truth. So
yeah, they do.
Do you guys want me to just read a couple lines from these?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do a quick.
Yeah, a quick.
Okay. So Jade, you first. So style is fashion, sweetness, elegance, chic, and optimism, which I'm like, okay. And so the part though that this just jumps out at me, it says, when you're feeling down, there are many ways to pick yourself back up. Sometimes it's merely speaking that positivity into existence. Other times, livening up your physical appearance with a new wardrobe or a new haircut will do the trick.
Or eyebrows.
Eyebrows. Let your exterior shake up your interior. When you look good, you feel good.
See, that's why I had to put on my eyebrows before we hopped on here. And I do have the gift of optimism. I do.
You absolutely do. Okay, Cass, ready for this? Fire, lust, and drive. Just because wait for this. Just because your inner flame feels dim does not mean that it's completely out. This is a sign that it's time to rekindle that fire from within. Absorb things that will inspire you, like music, art, film, and books. It's easy to feel disconnected from your most passionate self, but that's the best time to run back. Your willingness to find that spark will determine your success rate. Don't fake it till you make it either. Proceed only when you're truly ready.
You've been getting words. Fuck. She's like, that's hitting a little too close to home. Damn it.
Yeah.
So I'll say one one of the
That-
things that I noted was when you guys talked about the color shirts that you were wearing, and here again we have black, charcoal, and white, and how it talks about your different like levels of things, and I'm like, oh, what am I wearing today? You know, and I was like, okay, no, don't think about them. Really feel into what color feels right for you. And I was feeling this like warm pink color, and when you pulled the card, there was one of her big like stripes was kind of this color, and I was like, yes, okay, like I'm on for this, right, in alignment. And for you, Kaylin, I feel like, you know, you're talking about not feeling aligned to, you know, Lady Luck, but from what I can see in your shirt, we have a little rainbow going on. Yep. And what do we find at the end of, you know, what's associated with
Your
rainbow?
pot of gold.
Right, pots of gold, leprechauns, luck. And so it's like, okay, what are you calling in, you know, with that? What are you calling in more of that? And what is luck really? As Oprah Winfrey tells us, is hard work meets opportunity. And
Yeah.
opportunity is
Whew.
the magic of the universe, right? Reflecting back to us at the right time.
And Cass says, find us our pot, Ariel.
All right, we'll see what we can do.
Yes. I am going to read the words for mine. So they're good fortune, financial success, second chances, and misfortune. But it says you can have luck in your name, but that doesn't mean you'll be swimming in it. You can walk around with 4-leaf clovers, lottery tickets, and trips to Las Vegas. It can all lead to nothing. But pulling a Lady Luck card means your luck is about to change. Change doesn't mean the difference between bad luck and good luck. Change is change. It may feel weird not being in the driver's seat, but just let luck be your lady tonight. And the outcome of events will be whatever was supposed to happen. Like the lottery slogan, hey, you never know.
So do you feel like that is directly correlated to the phone call you got off right before we started?
Yes,
1,000%.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Alignment.
Uh-huh. Thanks for connecting our dots. Appreciate you.
Yeah. She'll continue to do that. We can have a lot of fun on this podcast. Before we go any further, I don't know if I've even told Cass and Kaylin, I've told you this, but when I first worked with Ariel, this was, how long ago was it? The first time we did a session together. It was in the winter.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was about 6 months ago, I think, and then
Yeah. So the first time I worked was about 6 months ago. And as you guys know, like getting so stuck on this, believing that, yes. So Cass just said January, my month of personal development. So I was like, I have to back up. Like there's some things I have got to work on. And one of the main things that Ariel helped me with in the first time we worked together is just, like staying in a place of power, like owning my words, and just this kind of loop that we closed up with Robin. I don't know if you listened to that episode, Ariel, but the Ho'oponopono and the, standing and holding our pillars. That's the work that was begun in January for me with Ariel. And that whole full circle moment with Robin, it's just been like a life changer, a game changer. So I think it would be really cool for our listeners to kind of hear a little bit about the process that you use, Ariel.
Yeah.
And what is RTT? Like, I think there's probably a lot of listeners that are like, what the fuck is that? What does that stand for?
So RTT stands for Rapid Transformational Therapy. It's a method of hypnotherapy, a modality of that. What I find the best about it, what I find the most empowering, is that I am a guide through pulling the information up and out of you throughout the whole session. And to me, that feels, there's definitely times in our life when we want those messages externally reflected back to us, even doing the cards at the beginning of this, right? To say, oh yeah, I hear that message. I see it reflected. But there's a whole nother level from hearing yourself say those words. And what we're identifying through the session is, where did your issue come from? Where did this start? What did this thought, belief, or emotion stem from? Is it an incident in your life, your past life? Is it a belief? You know, when we talk about the effects of the patriarchy, right? It doesn't even have to be a direct incident in your life, but a cultural influence of disempowerment towards women, or for raising your voice or standing up for yourself, right? But to understand and see, oh my gosh, this is where that came from. It was this incident, you know, or time, belief in my past that this stemmed from. And then being able to look at, okay, what does that part need now? Is that still relevant? Do you need to still not share your voice, to not feel confident, to, you know, feel, you know, not as embodied in yourself? Typically the answer is no, because that's why you're ready for the session work. So we can say, okay, great. Now that we're ready to step into this next level of empowerment, of expansion, of growth within yourself to your soul's truth, your path. I think this is, you know, I'm going to be all over the place, intersecting with, you know, astrology when we think about what the North Node, what you're moving towards. This is how you're presenting, but what are you moving towards? And so as we go along our human life journey, we're kind of always in those states of transition and self-transformation. So how are we moving you from where you were stuck or ready to be released in those lessons, in those experiences, in those beliefs, shifting and moving you forward to be in alignment to the next best you, right? The next place that you're growing into, expanding into, healing into. So what that looks like in the session, we go into hypnosis, which is just a deep connection to your inner self. It's just like, you know, meditation or a calm thing. I tell all of my clients, if we were just to close your eyes and take a few slow breaths and just talk from there, you're already starting to, you know, shut down one of your senses, which tunes you into a higher sensation to your other sense. And what we're intentionally connecting to deeper is your intuition, your inner knowing, right? With that, obviously, I think that's a big part of what's happening with Cass, without knowing too much of what's happening with her, as her exterior senses are shutting down. What is that internal connection that's really trying to come out? Yeah, she's saying right on. Yeah. So we go into that deep state of connection, and then I'm guiding the client through saying, okay, where did this come from? We're going to the root of this issue. We investigate the root of that issue, typically by reviewing scenes, moments, messages that come up from that. Then we say, what does that need? Do we still need that anymore? How do we move forward? By reframing, releasing, transforming that issue, that perspective. And then moving forward, installing, doing the healing work needed to help uplift you to be more aligned, to manifest, to be in that receiving mode for your next level of expansion. So it gets deep, but it is really, at the end of the session is all uplifting, empowering messages. So as an empath myself, it's a great, you know, journey to go through with people, because we end on this high note, which then becomes a transformational recording, just the ending of that session for people to look at, for people to use going forward, to help, you know, do that neurolinguistic reprogramming and really help ingrain it into your conscious and subconscious.
Perfect. We
Cass
need
is
to
filling up the chat with questions.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Kat says, so if I already took care of talking and hearing, would RTT work better for me in this time period? LOL.
I love it. If you wanted to dive into a session about it, I'm always game. You're always going to find out something else. You're going to find
Yes.
the next level, another layer of messaging. And although it comes from within you, I think that there's a part of our conscious brains that say over and over, well, if I knew, I would get rid of it. If you knew, then I would just get my hearing back or be more confident. But that's the conscious mind clouding, kind of overriding the subconscious, the emotions, the intuition, the inner knowing, that soul connection.
Mm.
And sometimes we can make those breakthroughs. Sometimes we have that niggling knowing, I think it's from this. This is what I'm thinking of doing. But by going through like the whole process, we move you through it. We actually kind of get you unstuck, move you through it, and give you tools of support after the session work as well.
Yeah. And before we ask Cass's other question, just to like demonstrate like what happened to me personally, the first time we met, she had me go back into a time where I felt very safe. And that was really powerful too. But then when we started the second session, the main session, the long one, I had no idea where I was going to go. And I was taken immediately back to my fourth grade classroom, and my teacher who bullied me. And that was something I hadn't thought about in years. And I did not realize how much it had impacted me. So that was the first like scene that I was taken back to, is my fourth grade classroom, and how disempowered I felt, and how small and just stepped on, and bullied. And this whole like thing, I have never stood up to a bully in my life. I've only run away. So yeah, Cass says, let me at her. Oh my God. If Cass would have been in the class, that like my friend at that time, she would have literally not stood for it. Neither would Kaylin have. I mean, I would have had, but I didn't have anyone really standing up for me. So.
And at the time, that's what we're able to do in the session as well, is, and we did in the session, make your adult self an advocate for your child self.
Yes.
And being able to, upgrade that child to have an adult protector, because from our adult eyes, we can look back and be like, this was super inappropriate for your teacher to act like that to you. And straight out say that. And we can see it through the adult eyes. We can see things through the logical, what was an emotional situation. And so we're able to see it in this, like you're watching a scene, right? Like you're watching a scene on a television show and saying, oh, that's not right. We all have watched the movies, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, if you guys would just talk to each other, you would meet up at the same place at the same time, and you just are like screaming at the film. Well, it's like this way we get to do that. We get to go back and talk to that child self that was wounded, that needed that comfort, and provide it, and then say, you know what, we don't have to feel bad about this anymore. Now when we look over that scene, we can be like, yeah, that sucked, but like the teacher sucked a lot, like that was really inappropriate, and I don't have to hold on to feeling bad about myself for those situations anymore.
Yeah, it was very powerful and effective. The whole thing, for sure.
I've seen a change in Jade like a million times over. So just as an external person that has seen the transformation in Jade, from Jade then and Jade now, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's been, like you say everything, even if it's not coming out pretty. And before it like you felt like you had to make it pretty before you could say it. And now it's like, and
which is very much the journey of my South and North Node too. My North Node's in Sagittarius. I'm not supposed to make it pretty before I say it. And my shadow is the Gemini that wants it to sound good and more lots of words instead of just truth. I love this
love
question.
Her words.
Yeah. I love Cass's question. Did you get
Yes.
started on this journey because you had an RTT session?
Yes, I did. Let me just finish with a comment with what Kaylin said about reflecting and seeing this change about you, Jade. To me, I think that's the best thing to hear. It's one thing to have your client say, I feel like I've changed. I can see this and see that, which we have done with Jade. But I think to have, you guys are clearly soul sisters, in this, for your intimate group to say, this is the positive empowerment, enhancement of who we knew you were, seeing it stronger, seeing it bigger. To me, that's the best. That's what I would love to do for every woman everywhere. Like, yes to this. So thank you so much for reflecting that, not just to Jade, but to me as well, because it's really great to hear. It's when other people can see that journey. Not that they have to, right? Because our personal growth can always just be internal. But I think that reflection with your soul sisters is really powerful.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that you feel so empowered about speaking your truth, speaking your words, and moving along in your path.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So how did I get started? You ladies will appreciate this. I'm like, I can't wait for the day when I get asked this to be like, well, 3 lifetimes ago, I like made this agreement and this is how this like went.
We
right?
get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't had it in such a specific like iteration. So I'll talk about, this lifetime's events, but boring. One lifetime.
Cass says, no, go back. We love past
I
lives.
know, I do too. But how I got to this, was a lot of events in this time, right? So it is a past life in a sense. In my previous life, I owned a bridal shop. So in my early 20s, I owned a bridal shop. I had worked out of state in bridal, and then had the opportunity to take over a lady shop in my hometown area that was retiring. And it was super aligned. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here's this big dream of mine coming up, 10 years earlier than I ever would have expected. But it was also very, very aligned. I moved home from being out of state, like within the 6 months before. My dad and my sister almost died separately of different health conditions. And I spent a significant amount of time with them and caretaking for them, and especially my sister during that. And my bridal shop actually became quite the hub for healing for our family. And during this time, my sister helped me in the shop a lot during her recovery time, when she was still really isolated from being in larger groups and things like that, and was on a hiatus from school. My dad building up some of his strength by working on, helping with small projects and things throughout the time. My mom being closely involved with me in having a positive outlet to be sharing with lots of pretty things during what was a very immensely difficult time, like in our lives. And then the universe was like, all right, but now you're done with this. And it told my landlord before it told me, and he started the quick push of moving me out of my beautiful, like renovated old church space. And I said, okay, universe, if it's not this, then what? Surrender, lead me, guide me, show me the way. One of the big moments that I had for that, I was standing, at the counter of my shop. I was the only person in there, it was in between stuff. And it was this 150-year-old church that had been renovated a while ago into a shop, and it had double doors in the front to come in, but one side was always locked, double bolted top and bottom, and the other door is what we used to actually go in and out of the store, right? No people around, no nothing, not a severe weather day. All of a sudden, I was thinking about, what am I doing? What's going to end up happening next? Kind of figuring, just mulling in my thoughts. And whoosh, both of the doors fly open to the point where they, smack the wall on the other side. And I look at my phone for whatever reason to take a picture of this or whatever, and it was 1212, which started my journey with repeating numbers.
Get
And
that.
okay. And I was like, all right, universe, like, I hear you. I don't know what you're leading me toward, but I get it. The door is opening. I am stepping through. We're doing this. And I did a bigger deep dive into what my, soul purpose was. And I was really questioning that. And hand in hand with that, as a Pisces, where's my soulmate? Right? Where's my soulmate? Let me tell you about the nights that I spent lying in a field in the rain, yelling up at the universe. Where's my soulmate? The universe, echoes back, are you a mate to your soul? And I was like, all right, I see you. I hear it. Let's work on self, right? So in the next year and a half, 2 years, you could say ongoing, it was a complete stripping down of everything I thought I knew about myself, everything that I could say, this is a characteristic of me, this is, my values, this is this, all of it got stripped away in one way or another. I ended up meeting my soulmate, who was dressed as Captain Obvious the first time that I met him. But I didn't realize consciously that that's who it was for another year and a half later. My relationship with him ended up being very tumultuous. He was still in a relationship at the time, and that made things very complicated. And it was a big growth journey for him of standing up in himself, taking steps forward in his life, as he had helped me in kind of the closing and transition of my shop. And I know that we were brought together at the time we did, although not, consciously ideal, right? The soul path in it was very obvious that we were there to help each other. In the midst of all of that, though, the crumbling, the tumultuous relationship, all of those, I had lost another dream job that I had acquired. I was in financial straits for, the cute house that I had finally rented. And I was like, here's my soulmate and he's not picking me. And my life is, you might as well cut me in half. And I heard on a podcast that I had been following with a lady was all about on her own kind of eat, pray, love personal development journey, studying lots of different, prominent healers, kind of expansion people around today. And she talked about rapid transformational therapy and had the founder, Marissa Peer, come on and talk about her method. And there was something in hearing this that just boom, clicked with me. And I said, oh my gosh, I think I'm supposed to do this. And my conscious brain clicked in and was like, are you supposed to do it for other people, or do you need to receive it yourself? Well, it makes sense to experience it first before getting trained to do it, which was obviously the right choice. The next podcast episode I listened to, I said, I really want to connect with someone who does this in my area, even though I know it can happen online. End of the next podcast, there was a clip about another program, and the person, kind of like a little, testimonial ad for something else from an RTT therapist in Wisconsin, which is where I live. And her name super resonated with me. And I'm like, okay, I called her and I said, I have to do this with you. I'm ready. Let's go. And my session was so truly transformative for me. I hit a past life. I viewed myself coming into this world. I had a ton of inner child, upbraiding and reparenting that happened. And there was a huge message on letting things go and creating a new, more solid base of my truth, my spirituality, my sense of self. And I felt like it was this letting go of all these past versions of myself, of presenting as this perfect person of all these different expectations that maybe weren't true for my journey, and really solidifying into me and coming into that. And since then I've been on that trip of the journey, and I have enjoyed it immensely. I now work for the school that trains people in this modality, like also, and I'm just feel thrilled and grateful to be helping other people as well. I've had many sessions, of course, since then, with the same thing, because I do just feel like it gets so deep and so moving. And as an empath myself, it's just like the safest place I've ever felt to fully release, fully feel out my emotions. And it is like going into, Jade kind of said it, but like this safe space within my own energy. Really just focus in on that. And I have cried the absolute biggest tears in my sessions for myself, but it has just been a really enhancing journey. I'm now engaged to my soulmate. We're getting married in October, in our soul's place, which is Devil's Lake, Wisconsin. And of course, the Native American name is translated from Spirit Lake. And it's a place that we always feel like a great resonance to, where I first really felt in my soul, yeah, this is my soulmate. Like, whoa. I never thought I'd get to be with him in this lifetime. And I see now why I thought that consciously. But it was a growth journey we were both, on. And so it's part of my
Wow. That's amazing. That's so beautiful. So how long ago, I'm trying to piece together the time frame of when you first met to then when you started RTT and then now being engaged. What was this time span like?
I closed my shop. My shop was closing in 2016. And so
Okay.
I had already picked up a second job hosting at a restaurant that he like managed, but I didn't know that like at the time. I got the job through, my brother's best friend who was a bus kid there, like super small town, like really cute. It was 2 blocks from my shop.
Yeah.
And so we were working together and knew each other kind of for like a year and a half. And then both transitioned like out of that job. And then he kind of was like, we have to keep working together. Just kind of stayed working with him as odd jobs at restaurants while we were kind of still going through our different transitions. And which was a beautiful journey. I feel like for me, the rising sign is like how your work ethic, too.
Yeah.
And so my partner is a Capricorn, and I'm like, well, of course I met him at work. Of course I met him at his work, right? Because
for sure.
and that I've seen a meme that was like, a love letter like from a Capricorn, and like how a Capricorn like turns you on, and they're like, let's make money together. And I'm like, yeah, that's my guy, like right there, like, here, come work with me. How can you be more involved in my life? Like, let's work together.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah. So
Cass, I could be a Capricorn rising. Cass, you probably are if we change your location a couple.
Can I trade my Cancer? Nope. Maybe, I don't know. Let's change. We need to find her location for where her rising becomes Capricorn, and that's where you need to be reborn, Cass.
That your astrocartography.
Yes. Yeah.
We've been playing around with that, and by we, I mean Cass and Jade. So
yeah, I love it.
Oh
yeah.
God.
Don't you
Correct.
collective we? Yes, Cass.
Yes.
So don't you both, Cass and Kaylin, want an RTT session now?
Duh. I mean, I knew that before I met you, but now it just really like set it in stone. Like, oh, I should probably do this. So
Yeah.
well, there's something, Jade, from like in how does RTT differ from NLP? It includes NLP. So it includes that neurolinguistic programming, and that's a lot of that positive affirming and affirmations and setting in that we do at like the end of the session. But it also includes, it's like understanding and transformation. So we also get understanding where it came from and doing the healing work. The healing work kind of in the middle includes anything from cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, healing the inner child, upgrade the child, NLP work, reframing, cord cutting. I have a lot of people really connect with their spirit guides and take a lot of downloads from kind of channeling through their spirit guides, which is something that I had to learn was unique to my process that happens in it. And so it's really interesting, but it does include that identifying, healing, and then the transforming. So then when you get to that NLP, when you get to the part that says, okay, we're just gonna, really embed into you, you are enough. You have the strength to use your voice. You have a strong, healthy, confident voice where you feel in tune to share your messages when it's the right time with the right people, right? When we're uplifting that, it's backed by the healing. It's backed by the understanding. It's backed by the transformation so that those words can land at a more resonating, uplifting, like place within you, like as well.
I also feel like the work that you have your clients do before the session is really helpful. And I took the time, like I took like a week to really write a lot of those prompts. So they're basically like prompts, and you can really get in there and kind of get down into the granular kind of what you're trying to accomplish in the session. And that kind of starts the process for sure, I think.
Did you do it in person, Jade, or did you guys do it virtually?
We've done everything virtually, even though we're both in Wisconsin. She's about an hour, a little more than an hour away. And she assured me that the virtual works beautifully, and it did.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like to say, I can do in-person sessions in a crystal and wellness shop in the area that I rent a space in, Sienna Moon. But it can also
that's how I found her.
Gotcha.
They know Sienna Moon.
Okay,
we do.
The comfort and convenience of your own home. So a place that you're already feeling, relaxed or comfortable in, which helps you ease into that place for that connection. And because it's a closed eye modality, it doesn't matter if I'm physically in front of you. I always keep our cameras on, so as it helps me connect with others and tune into their energy and watch them, for those reactions. But yeah, we can do it all online. So one thing in listening to your podcast that I wanted to reflect to Jade, and I feel like I just haven't said it because I wanted to talk about this, but when you, in the story of the three of you, finding out that Jade has been in life between life space for the last 400 years, completely makes sense to me why being grounded and in your earth body can still feel so uncomfortable, right? And that was kind of some of the things that came up is that when you're in that water, when you're at that sunset and feeling so expansive and so connected, I really wonder if that's part specifically of your soul space. You're feeling that connection, that it's a translation of your soul space that you spent so much time in very recently. And in part of that integration of saying, yeah, but we're just here. And feeling like that space of connection is fleeting because you're being kind of forced to ground right now. But it's almost like, why humans call the terrible twos, right? I think it's really because, as an infant and in the womb, we're totally emotion sensory. And then as you're so connected with spirit realm still, you're still connected to that, and your little, your soul is not even spending that much time in your tiny body yet because you're like, this is boring, like we can't really like do anything. but the more that you have to integrate, right, to your physical body, the more your body needs your soul more. Once you're starting to walk and be like, oh yeah, this is like really a thing, it's gravity, we are locked in here. I think that your little soul self is like, wow, I used to be able to fly across universes, and now I like can't even feed myself.
Totally.
That's
Totally.
what's happening. But I think that
Yes.
it happens in, lifetime arcs, too. So here you have you kind of coming down, and of course there's a lot of your soul, your body resistance being like, yes, but did you know, do you remember what it feels like to float in the infinite? And then your human self is like, yeah, but like, girl, we have to like stay here.
Like, hold up, we got responsibilities here.
Yes,
Damn it.
it does. But it's finding that balance, right? I think that's always what we're doing, because clearly you're still on a very soulfully connected journey in this lifetime, and finding those points to connect into the infinite and feel that, I think is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. So something that she's referring to is all my safe spaces have to do with water and being unencumbered from my body.
Naked.
Clothing, naked. Yeah. So no clothing, no responsibilities, no just, and then this feeling right behind that it's going to end and be over, and that I have to get out. And it's like this, like I'll start crying and just crying because I have to leave the water. No wonder I proposed to you on the beach, Jade says. Yeah, we started this whole soul journey together on the beach. And remember the first time we went to the beach and I started running to the water, that you guys were like, oh my God, you really need that. I just like, yeah.
With little
With little clothing. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is that. Yeah. Anytime that, that Ariel, leads me into a safe space through hypnotherapy, I'm always in the water and like, just don't want to have to get out.
That
Going to
resonates so much. Like, I can see that. I can see soul Jade just like.
yes, that's how I saw it too.
Yeah.
That night with the infinite stars, around you and reflected in the water. And it's like, it's very interesting because I think people have different visions, different spaces for their soul spaces. And I've gotten to hear a few of those throughout my time with my work with clients, and in reflecting on it, although your inner guidance didn't tell us that specifically, I really feel that that's what it's tapping into in those feelings and in those connections. And I think one of the tools to help connect and move to that is not just to connect in meditation, which you always can, finding that space of connection within you, but going to the water, making that a priority, having that special time, maybe exploring something like a float tank, right, to embody those kinds of feelings. Because for all of us, when we tune into and we're connecting to those kind of soul resonance places, you have that release, you have that ease, you have that amalgamation, right, of your energy, that cleansing. Mine is the forest, and in this lifetime, mine is iterated in the forest, and I can feel that lifting from the trees as it's clearing that energy.
I love that. What are some weird ones that you've heard? Some soul spaces that are like interesting.
No judgment, but also
weird, not weird, not weird.
No BDSM dungeon, unfortunately.
BDSM dungeon.
Cass, that's gonna be yours.
Totally.
Yeah.
Cass is like,
no, they've been like places of infinite stars. Another's was gardens that were just unfolding in different ways, and it was like we could see from after her different lifetimes the different like gardening that she brought back to that space. And so we saw, Grecian gardening, Elizabethan gardening, but just these kinds of styles represented, but in this kind of ever unfolding garden, which I thought was just really beautiful.
That's not weird at all. That's beautiful. I want to
I
know
know.
weird, freaky shit.
No, I haven't gotten to anything, and I think it's because it's all these places of peace,
Mhm.
and so it's our human experience that's that's difficult, right? It's our human experience that's odd. It's our soul space that's full of peace, whatever that means to
Yeah.
all of us. Each
Kaylin,
one.
is yours weird and freaky? Cass wants to know.
You know what's funny is as I was trying to think of it, I think it's fire.
Fire.
Mm-hmm. Like anytime I've like been in therapy or I've done like the rapid eye
Mhm. Like
and
EMDR.
part of that, is like opening the space and closing the space. My visualizations always bring me back to like fire. So
Would make sense.
I don't think that's freaky though.
No.
All I can think of is Pitch Perfect. I play with fire to watch things burn.
What I have as a read is like a fire fairy from
Mm.
your hair right now is reading really red to me. I
I do,
color
yes.
auburn
Yep.
myself, and having that kind of sense is like, I wonder what part of your soul's lineage, was connected to that element. And when we
Mhm.
think of it not as the destructive force, right, which as our human selves often think of, but it's also what gives all of us life, the sun,
Yeah.
and being such an integral element, and then of course that we're kind of being birthed from, coming through those elements. This is
Mm.
why you were a star versus planet, always burning. 'Cause
Mm.
Yeah, when we had our healing session with Robin, Kaylin was like, I'm a star. I'm not a planet. And remember the card we pulled for you in Savannah with the red hair?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Ariel just said it. It's
Yeah.
she's reading your hair as red because you're from a fire fairy lineage. That's why you got that card.
I am my own redhead.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yes, I love this. Ah, you can make the noise of ah even with your voice. Come on, let's hear it.
It's funny, my laugh doesn't even, I'm just done.
Never mind.
Okay,
Cass
so
starts
I have-
talking, and then she's like, never mind.
I have a question for you ladies. So knowing, I don't know how much you know about your past lives together, that you were killed as for being witches, right? AKA women. And do you know what you were doing in that lifetime? Like, do you know about any of those skills or practices? And have you seen any of those reflected into like the modalities that you're, tuned into today?
It's a great question. Cass is typing.
And
I'll
do you have
I'll let her type first.
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
I could take that and run with it, but I want, yeah. So
From your last life together, but if it's from a different lifetime, I just think it's like really powerful to have three of you, which, as we know, the power of three for divine feminine is how I'm going to say it, but also witchery, but like the divine feminine with power of three, and those things, to have you guys, you ladies, come back together. It feels like a very significant touch point from that lifetime to this lifetime. And I'm just curious if there's a connection.
And so Cass is saying Kaylin speak for her, but also Ariel, I feel like you have some specific words to that as well.
yeah. What, I mean, tell us what you're seeing, or what you're feeling from this.
Well, so I'll kind of meander my way in, because I'm not sure that, upon just meeting you, I don't know that I'm picking up on it and hearing
Okay.
your story. And that's why I
Yeah.
kind of was interested.
Yeah.
But I finally got through past life explorations, one where I was killed as a witch and what I was, but which was very abrupt, surprising, as it often was at the time. But what I was doing was dyeing material, coloring material for the town. And it's actually something that I actually went to college for textile design and dyed fabric, and I had no experience or connection before that, and was like, this is what I'm going to do. It's a happy work. This is what I'm going to do instead of being a lawyer, which is what my Virgo mother is, right? And so having that Virgo moon rising was my first kind of big step of saying, no, I'm not going to be a lawyer. I'm not going to do that. I know I'm towards that Pisces. I didn't know it, couldn't articulate it that way yet, but I know that that was one of those steps. And then realizing it later that in one of my lives being killed as a witch and having done this textile dye work. When I do textile dye work, it is so peaceful, meditative, like connected. It just makes me happy. And I don't have this need to have it as my all fulfilling like career. Even if those kinds of smaller details, if there's anything that
We good?
guys, tell me what you're gonna say because it's really important.
What the fuck? Yeah, that's crazy.
So the recording just cut out, like Cass just
Yeah.
blipped away, the recording stopped, and then she like blipped back in. So
That was really
see what
weird.
you were gonna say because it feels
That
really
is in
the internet?
freaking insane. What?
That's so strange. I said, did we break the internet?
We may have.
Yeah.
What sucks?
Yeah.
I missed your whole speech.
No.
No,
No,
I
you didn't say
stopped.
anything. You were
Yeah,
gone for like
I stopped.
2
As soon as
seconds.
you went away, I stopped. And it actually turned off the recording.
But when I left, Ariel was still talking.
Oh, interesting.
What? That's how you were gone that long?
Apparently.
You were only gone like 1 second for us.
Oh no, not for me.
Wait a
All right.
minute. I'm a little
Gotta
more weirded out
continue
now.
this
I was
story.
gone enough to text Tom to ask him when he shut off the internet in our office.
Whoa.
You guys, that doesn't
That
make
was-
sense. She wasn't even frozen.
Right.
No,
I wasn't.
No.
no.
You guys were.
You were
Right.
literally
Tell me,
gone for
tell me,
1
tell me.
second.
No.
Cass, you were literally gone for 1 second.
Not on my side. I said, Tom, what time did you shut off the internet? I literally texted him, let's see, 2 minutes ago.
No,
that's giving me
freaking
some
way.
very weird goosebumps.
Yay, internet breakage.
I'm confused. We just did some very, very strange time warp jump thing.
Yeah. So I don't know what
Ugh.
part. I don't know what part
Good
the
at cut
recording
out it.
caught or it. Yeah. But what I was saying when it went out for me, and you can tell me, you guys, if you heard that or not, was that we know more about what we were hung for than we know about what we did in practice before. And we know that there was a lot of deceit around the three of us, which is something that we've had to work through at a soul level for the three of us and kind of healing that. But I know that one of us was looking for pins, and the boy that we had asked for pins didn't give them to us. And he had a stroke, I think, after he wouldn't give them to us. And then that is when we were summoned for, that was kind of one of the precipices for being summoned to be hung and for our trial, if you will. So I don't know exactly. I know that we were accused of practicing witchcraft, but again, it's like that during those time, 1600s, this was 1612, right? It could have been anything, right?
Right.
So I haven't done a whole lot of research as to like what we were doing during that time, but I do know that we were all related. We were family.
Mm.
And so yeah, and I know that we were it was also that some of the deceit was that it was a family member that also turned us in. So I want to say it was like a nephew. Does that, yeah. So
And do we know who that person is, that person in this lifetime?
maybe we haven't done any work around that. There's a possibility.
I love finding that out, and like,
Yeah.
it's so juicy and it's interesting to see. I had whether people go into past lives or not, like during our TT sessions, um um you're always experiencing a lot of healing, and I feel like I'm a little surprised that Jade hasn't gone into those um further past lives or spirit places, but now really understanding through your conversations a little more of her story, where she spent a ton of time in the ethereal plane, where it makes a ton of sense to me because I could feel that ability from you to access that information. But it was like, no, this is about this lifetime. This is about being a human. This is about this incarnation. This is what we're focusing on. But sometimes when we can get into past lives with people as the root of their issue, being able to then identify, which sometimes can happen, or what their experiences like are with them into this lifetime, which sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. Like one of my clients had a very abusive husband in one of her previous lifetimes, which is what was part of what was affecting her issue in this lifetime. And she very clearly identified the person, and she said, in this lifetime, the man came up to her, he was a coworker, and said, we were married in a past life. And he's like, I was he was super nice to her in this lifetime. He was like really accommodating, really helpful, like the exact opposite. And she said she totally felt like this kind of repentance, like energy from him, like in that. And it's just really interesting, which isn't always the case either, because sometimes those souls are resistance, right? They play the role of resistance no matter what lifetime, what position, their job title in your soul journey is resistance, right? But sometimes they're growing and learning with things too. And so it would just be just because you mentioned it, I was just curious if it was identified. So
Yeah. I mean, well, we do know in one of Cass and my past lives together, we were married and she beat me. She was my husband. And she still to like now will be like, I'm sorry I beat you. I'm like, obviously my soul let that go because I don't feel any kind of way towards you. But her soul is like, oh, I can't believe I did that.
yeah, what an interesting iteration for for the connection with the deceit, right? When all of you were women on an even playing field of almost, getting each other back, right? In our old school eye for an eye kind of thing. It's like, well, what different role can we play to also get you in trouble? And then it's like, joke's on you, everybody dies this time, or like whatever. So, but yeah, it's always just
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Love it.
I know now I feel like I've got, a research project. Like I need to go see what my job was and see if that resonates with me. So,
job or acumen, it can be, how you, right. You're a doer, Cass says, it can be, how you're approaching things or whatever, and just be curious too. And
Mhm.
I feel like it will be interesting what messages like come forward for you ladies, because I feel like with that whole like recording crashing thing, like that was an energy touch point, like for sure.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah, it was almost instantaneous for us with the fact that it was like a couple minutes for Cass. Like, oh, there is something there.
It's something very strange. And I'm trying to I want to go back and watch the video because I
Yeah.
don't think she was frozen. So that's what's so weird to me.
Uh-uh.
We're all agreeing that she wasn't frozen. So I'm so
Mm-mm.
confused.
There's something happening, and I can't wait to figure out what it is. Well, I feel like we could talk for hours and hours. It's already been over an hour.
I know.
So, it's fine. So I just want to say thank you, Ariel. Also, if our listeners do want to find you and get in touch with you, and maybe I want to get in touch with you, where would I do so?
My website is arielarnson.com, Ariel like the Little Mermaid, which is that's a whole another aspect of my journey that I can talk about another time.
I feel that with your red hair.
And the Pisces and so many
Yep.
metaphors. But Arnson, and then my Instagram is Ariels_Cosmos. So
Okay.
you can connect with me through that.
Love it. We
I
will.
did come first. Cass said I came first, right? I was born the summer before. I was born in February, and Ariel the Little Mermaid was the summer release for Disney. So, but it was very meant to be. So
For sure.
lots of lessons.
I love it.
For
Well, good.
sure.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming and having this conversation with us today and being so candid and sharing what you do.
Yeah, I can't wait for highly encourage anyone listening and you too as well to work with her because there's always something to discover. Always.
It's a journey.
Well,
Mhm.
thank you ladies for inviting and having me today. And I love hearing like your very candid journeys about everything as well. And it's very fun to listen to. And it sounds like the conversations I have with my girlfriends, and just feels like an inclusive space and an amazing journey for you three to be back together in this lifetime, and to see what you continue to create. And here's my positive energy for that moment.
Thank you.
We'll take it. Thank you.
Yes.
Finesse that shit.